be able to access BK shares on the Nairobi bourse. What does this mean, if you can just break it down for us?
Thank you for having me, Eugene. First, it's important to note that BK is issuing rights to its existing shareholders. So this is enabling all shareholders to maintain their percentage in the company. And at the same time, the company is cross-listing to Nairobi Stock Exchange. So that will enable investors that are not directly, that cannot directly invest into Rwanda because of some reason, but that are already in the Kenyan market, to buy BK stock directly from the Nairobi Stock Exchange.
Right. We do not have many listed companies here on the Rwanda Stock Exchange doing what BK is doing today, cross-listing in the Nairobi Stock Exchange. Talk to us a bit about the build-up to this bold move. How did it happen, and getting us to this particular situation?
Yeah, this is a first in Rwanda. This is the first Rwandan company to cross-list to another market. You know that the East African has been the East African market have been encouraging a market how do you call it? Harmonization. Yeah. So this is to enable us to have one market as East Africa, so that investors can directly invest in the different market without having the cost of going through custodian and different legal framework. Right. So this enables to attract as many investors as possible. So BK move to cross-list is to just broaden its investor base, because the Nairobi Stock Exchange is quite big.
It's quite big
if you compare it to the Rwanda Stock Exchange.
Right, and of course when you talk about the weight and the significance of the Nairobi Stock Exchange, it's one thing to say we are cross-listing, but it's another for those shares to be active on the Nairobi Stock Exchange. What sort of strategies has BK put in place to ensure that these stocks are going to be very active?
Yeah, so what we've seen in the past years is companies cross-listing from Kenya. We have a couple of companies that have cross-listed from Kenya to the Rwandan Stock Exchange. But the big challenge is there's no available shares, stock for the markets to purchase. So what the strategy that BK has done is to, together with the right issue, to avail the untaken shares that are not going to be taken through the right issue and avail them to the Nairobi Stock Exchange for new investors. So that means that we are not only cross-listing to the Nairobi Stock Exchange, but we are doing the cross-listing together with new shares, so that we enable people to immediately acquire stake in BK.
As they acquire this stake, or as you give them this opportunity to acquire this stake, just make me understand how you're going to ensure that you are remaining competitive, because in the Nairobi Stock Exchange there are other banks that are actually right there, and you're coming there as outsiders, in quotes. How are you going to be competitive?
BK has managed to demonstrate tremendous growth over the last years. We've managed to grow our profitability by 22% rate, if you look at the compounding growth rate, which is quite significant. And also, if you look at the return on equity that we offer, is around 21%, which is, if you compare with the Kenyan banks, which is something that is quite in line with what the other Kenyan banks offer. But most importantly, I think it is one of the companies that offer a broad financial services. So it's like offering right now a one-stop center for all the financial services. That means we are into banking, but we've also started offering insurance business. We also, under the same group, offer capital market activities and fund management. So I think this is quite attractive, and also it's a way to enter the Rwandan market, which is a very strong economy that has been also growing quite significantly.
Right, and of course, you know, we have some people probably in Kenya who are actually asking themselves, who is BK? Who's this player that has just joined this particular stock exchange right here? So moving forward, how is BK going to strategize beyond just offering this opportunity, but also, creating awareness about this portfolio that you speak about?
Well, I believe the BK brand is known in the East African. We have a representative office in Kenya that is already a door to Rwanda for anyone who is in the Kenyan market who wants to understand what is in Rwanda. But of course, we're still going to leverage on the strong brand that we have and communicate.
Yeah.
And
increase the awareness. Talk to me a bit about the rights issue now. You have actually now started selling 222.2 million new shares, out there to the existing stakeholders. How is this particular plan going to ensure that you raise this amount of money that you're looking at, about 60 million, or rather 60 billion Rwandan francs that you're looking to raise?
Yeah, we have existing shareholders who have already expressed interest in exercising their rights. If you look at the stocks that are listed on the Rwandan Stock Exchange, BK has been a very good performing stock that has maintained quite an increase in price if you compare from the IPO to today. So already existing shareholders have been benefiting from their stake in BK. They've been receiving quite a strong dividend payout. That's about 40 to 50% annually. So we already know that our shareholders, most of our shareholders want to exercise their right. But of course, we have some of them, including the government of Rwanda, who is not exercising their right. And this will enable us to have enough shares to present to the Nairobi Stock Exchange for new shareholders. Yeah. The BK stock has a lot of appetite. If you look at the international fund management.
And what is driving this appetite?
I think it's the growth, it's the steady growth, but also the return that we've been giving over the past years, but also the strategy. If you look at the strategy of the key strategy around increasing the customer base through digitalization, which is today's way of doing business. It's not only having branches all over, but actually using technology to penetrate and reach the people that are very far from creating new digital consumers.
Right.
Basically.
And once this money checks into the account, checks into your account, 60 billion Rwandese francs, what next? I mean, because one, you have the portfolio where you have the BK Tech House, you have insurance going on, you have the banking services going on. So what next for BK?
The plan, of course, is to invest in the existing line of business, increasing the banking business. That means banking is about lending, so increasing the lending portfolio, but also we're going through a digital transformation. So this is really transforming the bank digitally so that we ensure that we create new digital consumer, but also work on the efficiency. That means automation, and all of this require investment. Yeah. The other thing is also insurance business being new. It's only 2 years. We want to increase the penetration. The penetration of insurance are very low in Rwanda, and we intend to really leverage on the digital transformation to reach out to the population so that we can offer all the financial services through one brand. So the money is going to put at use.
Right. Thank you so much, Carine, for making time. Quite ambitious plan right there, and wish you all the best.